Good evening. I know last night we were all shocked by the stabbing that took place between Shortlands and Beckenham Junction, but it wasn't just that, because there was also 2 people stabbed at Kennington Tube in East London. A sex attacker was on the loose, being chased by police. And if we look around the rest of the UK, over the course of the last week, 2 men were stabbed today in Liverpool, in North Shields in the North East. A man was stabbed to death yesterday in Birmingham. A man was stabbed to death yesterday in Sheffield. A teenager arrested after a young boy was stabbed in the park. And you know what? It isn't just that. There is also general behavioural decline at all levels. Astonishing to hear this morning that 1 in 5 teachers last year was struck by a pupil. And I know, just talking to folk who come into London every day and travel around, that actually, knives or not, there is a feeling on trains and tubes and perhaps even sometimes buses that people just do not feel as safe and secure going around the country as they did, I'm going to say this, just before lockdown. Our general level of behaviour, our attitudes, our courtesy towards each other, and now the wholesale carrying of weapons that can kill another human being have reached an appalling level. And I'm interested to know how you feel at home. Do you feel safe when you go out now and travel on public transport? Love to get some of your feedback, please. Farage at GBNews.com. Well, to get the latest with what's going on, I'm joined by Mark White, GB News' home and security editor.
Nigel, good evening. There is no doubt that in many communities right across the country, they are grappling with an increase in violent crime, in particular knife crime. And every now and again, incidents pop up that grab the public attention. That's what happened yesterday, with first this incident in Beckenham where a man was stabbed repeatedly on that overground train. And then a few hours later, late into the evening in South London at the tube station at Kennington, 2 men then stabbed multiple times as well on the platform there. Developments have been happening throughout the day on these stories. With regard to the Beckenham investigation, the British Transport Police leading the investigation have confirmed that a 19-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. A weapon has been recovered. The Kennington investigation saw the arrest of a man in his 30s this afternoon on suspicion of the attempted murder of 2 other men. So those investigations making progress, but they come really at a time when people are very and understandably concerned about violent crime. If we look at London itself, last year, the latest figures that we had to September of last year show that there were 14,000 almost knife-related incidents in London, a 22% increase on the previous year. And also, when we are talking specifically about public transport, the British Transport Police related knife crime incidents showed a 99% increase on where they were pre-pandemic, a 99% increase in knife-related offences on the trains and tubes since the pandemic itself. Well, we were speaking to some people outside Kennington tube station today, and they said to us that they had certainly noticed that on the underground in particular, it's much less safe these days.
The tube, I feel fine. I feel the tube's safe. I think some empty streets can be scary, but other than that, it's pretty safe, I would say. Late at night, it's always scary, isn't it? But other than that, it's all right, yeah.
Sometimes when I'm walking home, I feel a bit scared. Like, I even turn around to see if there's anyone behind me.
I heard it all last night, and it is getting very scary, really. I'm in 2 minds to keep getting on the trains and the tubes.
Daytime, I'm not too bad. I live over North London, but in the night time, I wouldn't go out.
Well, following these latest horrific attacks, Public attention is focused once again on knife crime. The police know that. We're also headed into the Easter weekend. Lots of people will be out. There is no doubt there will be knife-related incidents across the country. The Metropolitan Police and British Transport Police say they will have additional officers carrying out extra patrols in key areas such as rail stations, on the underground network, and of course in other crowded places.
Mark White, thank you very much indeed. Well, joining me down the line is someone who knows all too well the tragedy that can result from this. I'm joined by Mark Brindley, trustee of the James Brindley Foundation and father of James Brindley, who was indeed stabbed to death. And Mark, I know you've been campaigning on this for some time. When you hear those figures from Mark White of a 22% increase in the last year alone of knife incidents in London, you must feel very depressed about the situation.
Yes. The statistics speak volumes, don't they? But I'm not surprised, because we still have the same problems in society.
Yes, but the solutions to those problems are not short-term, are they? They're long-term. And it does seem to me, and I talked in the introduction not just about knife crime, but about general levels of casual violence. It does seem we're becoming a lawless society.
It feels like that. There's no question. And, society has changed. It's changed dramatically since 2014, and more recently after or during COVID, after COVID, and the cost of living crisis, which seems to have exacerbated the problems we're experiencing.
Is there any one big thing you'd like the government or police to do, Mark?
Yes. It's long-term funding for long-term solutions. The problems we have are entrenched, and there needs to be that commitment, because charities like our own, when the funding comes through the police and crime commissioners, it comes through for 12 months, which isn't anything like long enough.
Okay.
It needs to be funding for 5 years or longer.
OK. Mark, thank you very much indeed for joining me on the programme. Well, in the studio with me now is Faron Alex Paul, anti-knife crime campaigner, founder of Faz Amnesty, and somebody who is physically going out onto the streets to try and make a positive difference. Faron, you were the victim of a serious knife attack yourself.
Yeah, that's correct.
Show us.
Well, all the way down my neck here,
Wow.
Go straight down across my collarbone.
How old were you?
At the time, I was 20 years old, but I got attacked on 2 separate occasions. So that first time I got stabbed 9 times, and then the second time I got stabbed 9 times. And I'd make it very perfectly clear, it weren't gang-related, it was just me protecting.
It wasn't?
No, it weren't gang-related at all. It was me protecting a family member that's a female, and me protecting another family member that's a female from someone that was aggression towards them. I believe it got to that point because our physical altercation, maybe they thought I got the better of them, and their retaliation to that was to use a knife on me, And I feel like it's just so easy for young people to retaliate with knives, and it don't help with the accessibility they have to weapons, You've got mainline platforms that sell weapons online. I mean, Nigel, think about this. You have a country where it's not illegal for them to buy and sell weapons, right? But that company will still be able to basically promote their weapons in a country that's not allowed to have weapons in. And then people can still purchase on them platforms.
But the trouble is, even with kitchen knives, people can still do it on the
All right, now, Nigel, I'll say this. With kitchen knives, yes, people can get them. But, Nigel, any parent, any responsible house owner, even if you have medication, that would be in a cupboard at the top with a lock, right?
Yeah, fair point.
And now, if you do something else, look at this. If we used to make knives have a serial number in them, and I could say to you, this knife set was purchased by A, it's in this household A, but listen, if you did find one of them knives up the road in the alleyway bloodstained, you know that knife came from house A.
That's a very, very interesting point.
And you can go to the parent and ask her, why is your house not in knife A? And you're going to get some sort of clarification to why that knife is not in your kitchen drawer and it's in the alleyway bloodstained.
Now, most of this is male. It's 90% male on male.
100%.
it's about 40% black on black, but given that the population, say, of London, the black population is about 15%, I think. So again, it's a disproportionate problem of victims and perpetrators within the black community. A lot of that must be drugs and gangs.
Well, I feel like it's contributing factors all around, and I'd never deny that drugs ain't involved. But I do believe that these children are a product of their environment, and we're talking about estates with tower blocks with thousands of people in there, and they're living with, like, not, how can I say, like, they're living to standards, not of classes where things are accessible for them, you know? And when you do start indulging in selling drugs to make money, you know, like, there comes problems in between selling weapons, selling drugs and things like that, you know? And I just feel like some of these children, they get into certain situations and it goes beyond someone about selling drugs. Because now, that young person that's seen his older brother get stabbed to death by the guys that live in a postcode 3 streets away, they've now inherited someone that is intent on seeking revenge.
And then you get the vengeance. Now, what's interesting about your story is that rather than seeking vengeance, you've actually... I'm going to start playing some pictures now of you, and you literally go out onto the streets and take knives off people and fill up bags and take them... And folks watching this, I mean, some of these weapons, Faron, that you are taking off people on the streets are... Well, I mean, frankly, some of them are virtually swords. I don't know about knives. This is a very dangerous thing that you do.
Do you know, some people do say that, and I don't take what I do for granted. Like, I do my due diligence. But I do believe that the people that I do connect with, they are in a position mentally that they're no longer going to be a part of that life, and they see me as a solution to help them get rid of that and go into the process of changing their life. But I believe this, Nigel, if you physically take a knife off someone, or they physically get in a situation where they've got to throw the knife away, then the chances are they're going to go and replace that knife. But when you get a young man that sat down with his mum and said, "Mum, I don't want this knife no more. Can we contact Faron? Give him my postcode. I come to the house." To me, that is a mental transition for the better. And why are you going to want to go and buy a knife if you just handed your knife in voluntarily? Do you know? So I feel like that's the starting course. And
so from the journey, in a sense.
The journey, yes, it's the journey of the positive transition, you know? And I feel like that's the way forward. And when you get someone who's mentally willing to do that, it'd be easier to divert them people into life-changing things for the better.
Well, all I can say is, Faron, I hope there's a lot more of you out there and a lot more people realising the error of their ways. And honestly, well done for what you do.
Thanks for having me, Nigel.
No, not at all. No, well, what a brave lad, and what a very, very good thing to do. But there's no denying it. We've got a massive problem. And when it comes to public safety, I have a feeling within a couple of years, we'll have big metal detectors we have to walk through to get onto tubes and get onto trains. Otherwise, people are not going to feel safe. Nothing is getting any better.